Welcome to our video series introducing Adobe Dreamweaver. In this video, we'll explore site creation and management. Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk you through how you can manage sites, create and manage sites in Dreamweaver. This is done through the Sites menu. And you don't need to use this functionality if you don't want to. You can create sites yourself. You can just go File, New, and create a web page, and save the web page, and then create another web page and save that. And you know, they may be related to each other. They may be part of the same website, but only you know about it. So that's one way to work, of course. But Dreamweaver does offer this site management functionality. So Site, Manage Sites, and there's nothing there currently. So let's go OK, Sites, New Site. And it brings up a wizard where you can just fill in the blanks. So first, your site. What's it going to be called? And it says here, a site in Adobe Dreamweaver CS3 is a collection of the files and folders that corresponds to the website on a server. So what would you like to name your site? Let's just call it Demo Site. What is the HTTP address of your site? So basically, where is it going to be on the internet? You can just leave this blank for now if you wish and fill it in later. And it actually gives you the option of working on your site, on your local computer as it's called. In other words, on your computer here, which is known as working with your website locally. And then, once you're happy with it, you can upload it to your website, or you can even work directly on your website through Dreamweaver without actually saving any files on your computer at all. Obviously, that isn't recommended, but it is an option. For example, it says here, if you want to work directly on the server using FTP or RDS, you should create an FTP or RDS server connector. Working directly on the server does not allow you to perform site-wide operations like link checking or site reports. So really, it's to your benefit to save your website to your computer because you have backups that way, and then upload it to your website when you're ready. Also that way, you're less likely to make mistakes. And you see that using the site management functionality does allow you to do automatic link checking and site reports and so on. Okay, so that's the first screen. Next, do I want to use server technology such as Cold Fusion, ASP.NET, ASP, JSP, or PHP? If you aren't sure, then you should probably say no. If you aren't sure what they are, then say no for now. But if you think you may want to implement some programming into your web pages, and ASP and PHP, for example, are effectively languages that get integrated into web pages and allow you to do much more powerful things than simply having a web page. For example, they can access databases of all sorts. But if you aren't familiar with them, then you can choose no here. Or if you are familiar with them and you think you're going to use them in your web pages, or someone you work with is going to use them, then say yes, I want to use server technology. Then you can choose which one it is. But let's stick with no for now in this example, and let's go next. Okay, how do you want to work with your files during development? The options are Edit Local Copies. They're called local copies, meaning they're on your computer. So edit local on my machine and then upload to the server. That's recommended. Or edit directly on server, which isn't recommended. So let's stick with the first one, and then you can choose where you're going to save your website to. Let me just change the address, and on my desktop, let's just create a new folder, and let's just call it Demo Site, and let me open that. Actually, let me just OK and select. Next, how do you connect to your remote server? So basically, how do you connect to your website? And there are the options. Generally, if your website is just a normal web hosting arrangement, then generally you connect via FTP. Let's say you have a domain at mydemosite.com, for example, and you're paying $20 a month to have your website hosted there. That's just the standard setup. You would have FTP here. But if the website is perhaps for a company and it's being hosted at the company's address, if they have a big enough connection and so on and so forth, then you can just choose your connection, your local network connection, this way. But again, if you aren't sure, but generally standard web hosting is FTP. But if you aren't sure, you can ask someone you work with or ask your web host, for example. Okay, then it asks for your FTP address. Folder, and remote means the address on your website. Local is your computer and remote is your website. FTP login, password, and so on. That's if you want Dreamweaver to automatically update your website. Actually, there's no harm in using the Managed Site functionality of Dreamweaver to create and manage your website, then manually uploading your website to your web host using standard FTP software. So let's just choose None. You can choose None, and there we go. You can FTP manually if you so choose. Next, okay, it's pretty much done. We can click on Advanced if we want to get even more involved with these settings, so we can just click through them. So site name, demo site, that's the local root folder. Links relative to document, that should be fine. Use case-sensitive link checking. I would actually suggest that. It does depend on the server you're on, but generally you would use case-sensitive link checking, so stick with that. Enable cache. The cache maintains file and asset information in the site. This speeds up the asset panel, link management, and sitemap features. Yes, let's leave that. And let's take a quick look through these. Remote info again is none, but the options are FTP and other options. Let's go with none for now. Testing server. Okay, a number of options, but we don't need to worry about that at this stage. Cloaking. Enable cloaking. Yes. Cloaking lets you exclude specified folders and files from all site operations. So let's leave that as it is. Design note, sitemap layout. And okay, we can come back to these at any time, so let's just OK that, and there we go. Here you see in the Files panel, our website is listed, Demo Site. At any time, we can go Site, Manage Site, and the sites you're managing are listed here. You can choose to make a duplicate, remove it, you can edit it, you can create a new one, of course, and just edit any changes here, either in the Advanced tab or the Basic tab using the wizard. Okay, let's cancel that. And done. Okay, there's the site we're currently managing. Then what we can do, for example, is right-click and choose New File, and then we can give it a name. Generally, the home page is index.html. Okay, press Enter, and there we go. We now have a file associated with the site. It's obviously completely empty currently, but if we double-click it, it opens up in the editor here that's a part of Dreamweaver. So that's how you can use the site management functionality of Dreamweaver. And let's close this file for now. Close that. One benefit is that it's just a good way to stay organized, rather than having to manage everything yourself, rather than having to manage all the subfolders, etc. Basically, it makes things easier to manage. It's a good way to manage all your sites within Dreamweaver this way, and it has further functionality such as link checking and so on. For example, you can right-click on the site name here, the site name you've given it, and check links, selected files, or entire local site. That's a nice feature there. And also, if you go to the Site menu, there are a number of options there, of course. We've already been through the New Site and Manage Site options, and you can create reports, you can check links site-wide, change links site-wide, and advanced options. Interestingly, if we go to Reports and report on Current Document or Entire Local Site, Selected Files in Site, or Folder, if we select Entire Current Local Site, here are the options. Workflow Reports, checked out by. Basically, this way, if there are a number of people working on a website, this helps you keep track of who's doing what or who's done what. So checked out by, design notes, recently modified. And HTML reports, combinable nested font tag, accessibility, missing alt text, redundant nested tags, removable empty tags, untitled documents. So some slightly advanced HTML concepts there. You don't really need to worry about them too much at this stage. That's why, and you don't need to deal with HTML too much with Dreamweaver, but this is why I suggest you do have some familiarity. Dreamweaver isn't really a basic website creation and editing package. It's quite advanced. And as you can see, even basic concepts are often intermingled with much more advanced HTML concepts. Dreamweaver doesn't hide the HTML and CSS terminology from you, so I do suggest you get familiar with it. For example, combinable nested font tags. Basically, what that's saying is that the HTML font tag sets the text to certain fonts, as the name implies. Combinable nested font tags means you've used redundant font tags. Are there just redundant tags within your code? And that happens sometimes. Sometimes when your website is finished, you have HTML tags that are part of the document that don't need to be there. They're redundant. This is just a quick check for such redundant tags. And it deletes them, and it just makes your page smaller, and you could say somewhat sleeker. Obviously, you won't notice any difference. It will just be a smaller size file, which could make it marginally quicker for people to view. Okay, accessibility, missing alt text, and so on. We won't go into those too much now. You see, there's a lot of power there, and there are a lot of benefits to using the site creation and management functionality of Dreamweaver.